All righty, just getting my admin stuff here. All righty. So, my name is Jamila McMallow, and I'm a mindset coach and relationship expert. And I want to welcome you to the third part of this five-part series on healing your daddy issues. I'm so excited to be here with you. And I know that you're going to get a lot out of this particular part because a lot of women don't feel that if they were a daddy's girl or had a good relationship with their dad, that this could have an impact on their relationships with men in a negative way. But I know several women who were daddy's girls or had good relationships with their father and have struggled in their relationships with men, multiple divorces, sometimes never getting married, never being able to find the right guy, in their words. And so this training is going to be very powerful because if this is your story, this is going to really help you to wrap your head around it and understand what needs to shift for you so that you can attract and enjoy a happy, healthy, fulfilling relationship with a good man. And if you're married, how you can even, enhance and improve your relationship with your husband. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about me. Now, in every single one of these trainings that I've done, I've shared a little bit of my background because I'm not going to assume that you watched the first two. So if this is your first time experiencing me, again, my name is Jamila. And just to tell you a little bit about my story, I actually went through a painful divorce after 14 years of marriage. Thankfully, there were no children, but it was in my mid 30s. And at that point, it felt like, my life was over. But the truth is that relationship had been toxic. And so after it ended, I took the time to really focus on myself, do my healing work, and become prepped to succeed in a happy, healthy relationship with a good man. And so interestingly enough, a year after my divorce was final, like I said, worked on myself and I ended up meeting my husband, my now husband, like 1 year later. And then we were married about 6 months later. And we've been married ever since. And it's been almost a decade and 3 children later. Unfortunately, our first son is deceased. But as you can see, we have our little ones and, life is good. But this isn't something that, if you were to ask me 10, 15 years ago, I could not have even envisioned my life being this way. That marriage and relationship was what I thought, was what was possible for me at the time. And even in a way felt like I was happy, if you want to call it that. But the truth is that I was not happy and I was not fulfilled and my needs were not being met. But I knew that when I came out of that relationship, after that divorce, I knew that something had to change because I knew that I hadn't been a perfect wife, number one, even though, his behavior is what brought the marriage to an end. I hadn't been a perfect wife, and I wanted to make sure that I never attracted a man like that again. I did not want to be magnetic to toxicity anymore. And so I knew that that meant that I needed to do a deep dive into myself and into my own healing. And so that's what I did. And that was like the birthplace of the process that I now walk my clients through to help them do their healing work, which has a huge impact on helping them to create happy, healthy relationships with a good man. However, let's be real. When you do this type of deep healing, it really unravels so many things and allows my clients to heal and grow holistically, really in every way in their life. But for purposes of this training, we're going to just talk about how this impacts your relationships with men. Now, I want to share client story with you, a testimonial from my client, Ashley. She is amazing. She's actually married. And I want to share this with you because I do also work with married women. And of course, the challenges that married women have are different. But nonetheless, I want you to hear how her experience working with me really helped her mentally to shift and to grow and to feel that freedom and just lightness that we all deeply desire, to no longer be carrying around a certain baggage and things like that. And so I'm going to go ahead and minimize the presentation. Just click on, I have it here on YouTube and I'm just going to play it. Okay.
Hi, my name is Ashley Cook, and I'm a copywriter, strategist, and storyteller. Also, I have to tell you, I've re-recorded this probably 5 times because I just keep going on and on and on about how wonderful Jamila is. So she and I met several months ago, and as I was getting to know her, what she does, who she helps, I started reading her post, and we would DM, and I thought what she did was amazing. But in all honesty, I didn't think it was for me. I had just gotten married the year prior and was bebopping along in my own business, growing. Life was going well, but there was some stuff that was going on within me that just I was doubting, making a lot of I was doubting a lot of decisions in my life. I was feeling a lot of anxiety and pressure and things that I just thought were normal, kind of things I've carried with me throughout my whole life. Honestly, some of the things that made me successful when I was in my corporate career, that I just found as a business owner were no longer serving me. And as a newlywed, were no longer helpful. And so Jamila and I hopped on a call after DMing one day, and in talking with her, she, even in just that 1 hour chat, that initial phone chat, she just has this amazing gift. She has this strength that she carries with her. She listens to you, and then she's able to like just cut through the junk. So I am like queen of getting cerebral and analyzing and being self-aware and all of this. But what I realized with Jamila is that there was a major difference in knowing one, that you need to release something and what releasing that is, and then actually releasing it and letting it go and replacing it with something that's healthier and more beneficial. And so we just dove right in, and she would tell me like, you get an A+ in self-awareness. And I'm like, yeah, but I need to let this stuff go. And she's like, girl, I got you. And so the sessions were tough. They were really hard. To go into some of those painful places that I didn't even know were there, and not just go in to understand them, but to go in and actually heal them and release them. And then what that ended up doing was it creates space, right? So all this stuff that has now kind of come up has created a space. And so what do you do with that? Well, that's whenever Jamila comes in and helps you to be able to design healthy and thriving kind of routines and practices, so that you don't end up, sliding back, reverting, kind of go, she helps to kind of train you or rewire your brain to these healthier ways. But really what she does is she empowers you to do it. She comes alongside of you. You're the one doing the hard work. I was the one doing the hard work, but she was right there and she never left my side. And I'm so grateful for her. My husband is grateful for her. My family is grateful for her. In just the few months that we've been working together, I've noticed such a shift within myself, and we're just partway through her program. What I love with her is that she doesn't want to dwell on things. It's you get all the mess up, and you release it. You don't spend any more time than you need to on it. And so because of that, her program is accelerated, which I love, because I don't want to spend years in counseling to, slice and dice and Fraser Crane what I'm going through. She does it on an accelerated time frame, not where you feel rushed. You feel like you're doing it at, you get the due diligence as you're going through it. So it feels like there's space and room to breathe and process. But she's very purposeful in the journey that you're walking with her. And so, I've never had anyone like her. I've been in and out of counseling off and on for different, life situations that have kind of come up throughout my life, but I've never once had someone as clear and effective and focused and strong and understanding as Jamila. So if you are looking for, kind of to get healing once and for all, to be able to clear out the junk that is holding you down, like pushing you down or holding you back, even if it's like your own mental, like, those mental tapes that just keep, like, will never stop, Jamila just has such a skill at getting to the bottom of that. And I feel so much calmer and peaceful and within me, and then that overflows into my relationships, into my work, into my life around me. So I know I'm rambling. I don't want to do like a 10th take on this, so I'm going to wrap this up and say, if you're considering working with Jamila, I 1000% recommend her. Contact her. She is legit. She is the real deal, and you will not regret it. I know I certainly don't. So thank you so much, Jamila. Y'all go give her a call. All right.
Ashley's such a wonderful client. I love her so much. Such a wonderful, wonderful testimonial. And let me pull the presentation back up. Okay. But like I said, I wanted to share that with you because I want you to hear it in my clients' words, their experiences working with me, because I could tell you all day long, but it's better for you to hear from people who've actually worked with me, been in my program, and experienced results. So let's move on. We're going to cover 3 areas how being a daddy's girl has impacted your relationships with men. One thing may apply to you, or all 3 may apply to you. But I really want you to, if you don't already have a pen and paper, get a pen and paper, because I want you to really pay attention. And when you hear something that's like, oh, that sounds like me, I want you to write that down. I want you to understand that this is an opportunity for you to really gain some deeper insight into what's going on, so that you can start connecting the dots and realizing, whoa, I didn't get that this is why that happens. Because once you understand what's going on, well, now you're empowered to do something about it, right? So one of the ways that being a daddy's girl can affect you in your adult romantic relationships with men is that you may simply have unrealistic expectations. If you were used to being spoiled by your father, always getting your way, or if he was just a good man, you know, with lots of great qualities as far as you were concerned, then you may hold your dad as like the standard of what a man is supposed to be and what he's supposed to be like. And so if a guy doesn't match up on every level, you may, you know, not give him a chance, or kind of shoot him down, or not really see him for who he is, you know, and he could be a great guy, but you don't see him that way because he's not exactly like your dad. So you could have this idealized view of men, and that, like I said, that your dad is the standard. And then what can happen is when they are not like your father, you might lose interest. You might feel like, oh, well, he's not good enough, or you know, or he doesn't meet my high standards. And so the truth is you have this standard of perfection that does not exist. Because here's the reality: all children idealize their parents. All children view their parents as like they're superheroes. We gloss over their bad qualities and we focus on their good qualities because we love them. And as children, we have this innate born loyalty to our parents because we need them, right? And they gave us life and we love them, etc. So all of that has actually colored the way that you see your father. So you see your father the way that you see him through your eyes, not necessarily for who he actually is, but this idealized version of him that you see him as this big, larger than life superhero type person is not reality. And so for you to compare a man that's interested in having a romantic relationship with you to an impossible standard, one that's not even real, then you're never going to find, you're not going to find what you're looking for, because it doesn't exist. Nobody has a carbon copy walking around the planet that's exactly like them. And again, the person that you believe your father to be may not necessarily be who he is. In fact, I can guarantee you that's not who he actually is, because the person he is without the rose-colored lenses and the, you know, just the daddy's little girl, he can do no wrong eyes that you're seeing him with, that's not who he really is. And so for you to hold a man to this standard of perfection means that you're never going to find yourself in a relationship with a good man, because the one you're looking for simply does not exist. He's a concept. He's not real. Okay. Now, the second way that being a daddy's girl could have affected you and maybe showing up in your relationships with men is that you may actually be uncompromising, meaning if your father always gave in to your demands or requests, or you got your way, let's say your mom told you no, but you went to your dad and, and he always said, oh, he didn't maybe want to hear you cry, didn't want to see you complain, love to see you smile, love to see you happy. So he just kind of doted on you and gave you whatever you wanted. You may have developed the expectation that that's how relationships with men work. They're simply there to do what it is that you want. And so when you're in a relationship and you have this expectation that everything is supposed to go your way, when it doesn't, you don't like that. You don't like that. And conversely, the man doesn't like it either, because nobody wants to feel like a relationship is one-sided. And so that kind of leads me to point number 2, is that you may actually struggle to make your man's thoughts, feelings, and desires a real priority, because it may be all about you. You may just be, for all intents and purposes, and no offense, you may be a spoiled brat and expect him to continue spoiling you the way that your father did. And that's just not how it works. Your husband, or the man that's going to be your husband, is never going to love you the way that your father loves you. It's 2 different buckets of love, 2 different buckets. Parents love their children unconditionally. Everybody else, the fact is, it is conditional. It is conditional, because trust me, if you stop doing the things that you need to do to show a person that you love them, as in not just saying the words, but actually being there for them, caring for them, showing up for them, doing all the things to contribute to the relationship. If you were to stop doing those things, they're not going to just continue to feel the same way about you no matter what. Your parents love you no matter what. Not your mate. No, that's not how it works. And that's an unrealistic, unlovable expectation to have of another grown adult, that they're just supposed to put up with whatever and that you don't have to do anything. Just the fact that you showed up, hey, that's good enough. Now, I'm not saying that you have to perform in order to receive love. No, you are worthy and deserving of love simply because you live, breathe, and exist. So we're talking about 2 different things. My point is that to expect for another human being to simply tolerate inappropriate, uncompromising behavior simply because that's just your expectation, that's unrealistic. Everybody has standards and boundaries and deserves respect and courtesy, and to be spoken to in a loving and kind way, and to be dealt with in a way to where their thoughts and feelings are made to feel important and like they matter as well. You're not just in a relationship with yourself. He's not just there to serve you. It is a give and give relationship. You give and he gives. So it's reciprocal. You both are caring for each other's needs and desires. Now, what can happen is if you are, in a way, a spoiled brat, and you are uncompromising when it comes to getting your way, wanting things to be a certain way, you might find yourself being disrespectful, perhaps even throwing the adult version of tantrums, maybe talking down to him, making comments about maybe what he does for a living, how much money he makes, the way that he dresses, things like that. Like when you get mad and you don't get your way, you start hitting below the belt. When the truth is, this man may not be toxic. He may not be abusive. He may not be mistreating you. He may be attractive, all the things. But because you have this unrealistic expectation of men, because you have this uncompromising way of being in your dealings with men, because you think their job is just to cater to you and give you whatever you want, you end up running them off because they don't want to put up with that. Or you in the relationship because you feel like you're not getting your needs met, and he's not, taking care of you, when the truth is, he may actually be doing exactly what he's supposed to do and what's a reasonable expectation. It's just you're not showing up in the relationship in a healthy way. Okay. So that's something that you really want to think about. Really, really think about that. Now, conversely, you might be the type that wants to be catering to your man, and maybe it's overkill. Maybe it's too much. Maybe he doesn't want to feel like you're trying to care for him, maybe in more of like a motherly way. He, yes, wants to feel loved, wants to feel cared for, but some men, that's not attractive to them when you try to baby them or treat them like, you have to do everything, because he's a grown man. He can do things for himself. Yes, you have a role and a part in that relationship and in supporting him and helping him in lots of different ways. But men are all about respect. Okay. Women, our love language is love and theirs is respect. And so a man wants to feel respected, a woman wants to feel loved. That's just kind of how we're wired. Not that we don't want respect too, absolutely. But what we want to feel is we want to feel loved. What a man wants to feel, yes, he wants to feel loved too, but he wants to feel respected. And so if you become disrespectful, if you treat him like he's just a paycheck, if you treat him like his thoughts and feelings don't matter, then don't expect him to find some type of joy in the relationship. And unfortunately, don't expect him to stick around. You know, he may decide that he's just not going to, he doesn't want to do that anymore with his life. So just keep that in mind. If any of this is landing or resonating, I know this is kind of like, well, dang, you know, like, wow. Yeah, because the truth is, I know that you're not a bad person. You're not a bad person at all. You want to have a happy, healthy relationship with a good man, but these are behaviors and things that you need to examine and that you may need to shift and change about how you're showing up in these relationships. Now, another way that being a daddy's girl may have affected you is that you may be somewhat detached, especially if your father is still living and you still have a close relationship with him, because you may feel like in the back of your mind, okay, I don't really have to go all in on this relationship because I have a backup bailout plan. I know my daddy's going to come rescue me, save me, take care of me, whatever, if this doesn't work out. And so I don't really have to be all in or put up with any sort of hard or challenging times because I know I can just be out and I'm good. I'm going to be safe. That's not how it works. If you're going to make a commitment to somebody and get married, the two of you become one. And it's about the two of you. Okay. And you got to be 100, 100, and that commitment has to be there. But if you're still holding on to dad and like that's still an option or your plan B, I can just go back home or he'll give me the money I need. I'm not that's not independent adult thinking. Now, if the worst case scenario happens, great that he will be there to support you. But to have it in the back of your mind is like a safety net, as if you're almost preparing for the worst to happen, or you're just like, well, if he doesn't do what I want, I'll just go back home, or I'll just, that's not going to get you what you want in a relationship if that's your attitude about it, because you're not really all in emotionally or financially because you feel like you don't have to be. You don't have to be. Again, because building on the other areas that we've talked about, it's like he's got to cater to me. He's got to give me what I need. And if he doesn't, I'll just go back and, be single and I'll have my dad and he takes care of me, whatever. However that dynamic works. Do you understand what I'm saying? And another way that you may be detached is you may still put your father above now, here's what I'll say. If you're dating someone, he's not your husband yet. So he's not leading anybody. He's not the head of anything, but he is still, if that's where the relationship is going, that's still who he's going to become. And the relationship between the two of you is still the relationship between the two of you. And how you're navigating this relationship moving towards marriage is how you're going to navigate your marriage. And so it's not going to all of a sudden be like, oh, I say I do, and now I suddenly respect you. And now all of a sudden I keep our things private. And now all of a sudden I'm not seeking outside counsel about our personal relationship matters because now I said I do, so it's different. No. If the relationship has become serious and you're moving towards that, then the dynamics of the relationship has to change. So if you're still seeking guidance from your father or really a co-signer on your side of things, and you're putting more weight on the things that your father is saying rather than your man, especially if it's like you guys have come to some sort of compromise, but you're still slightly unhappy. So you go complain to your dad and he supports you and you're like, okay, so now that you feel like, oh, I have him on my side, that means I'm right. See, that kind of stuff doesn't work. If you're going to get married to someone, it's you and him. At the end of the day, it's the two of y'all laying up in that bed together, not nobody else. And so that's what matters. And so if you can't communicate with your man in a happy, healthy way, if you can't work through conflict or challenges, if you feel like you always got to be running back to your dad or calling your dad and asking for advice and all those things, and you can't stand in your own 2 feet as a grown woman, not saying that there isn't wisdom, that you can be learned from older people and things like that. But a relationship, there are things that go on between the two of you that need to stay the two of you. between the two of you, that privacy, that bond that needs to be protected. Okay. Your dad is not a part of that relationship. And so the truth of the matter is, if you don't respect your man as the potential loving leader of your family, and you're still looking to your father as like your personal leader, then you're going to have an issue. Okay. Because you're not marrying your dad. You're marrying this man. And if you're already married, you already have your husband. You already have the loving leader of your family. And your relationship is what takes priority over everything else. Yes, of course, you're going to be there for your parents. They're no doubt getting older, et cetera, et cetera. But you and your husband are a team. You and your husband are one. And you guys have to work on your relationship. And as long as you keep running back to dad and back and forth, you're going to always have a wedge between you and your husband. And again, like the slide says, experiencing that detachment, and who you're detached from is from your husband, from your man, from that relationship. And if you're detached and you're not all in, it's not going to work. So if any of these are behaviors that you have found yourself like, oh, yikes, then yes, we have to check ourselves. We can't put the blame on anybody else. When we grow up and become adults, we have to stand in our power and take ownership of our choices and decisions and behaviors, and be committed to making the changes necessary so that we can have that which we desire. That's it. You have the power and the control to become the woman you need to become, the type of woman that has happy, healthy relationships with good men, period. It's a choice. And when you make that decision, then the action follows. And then you're able to step into that new identity, that way of being that's going to get you what you want. Okay. I want to share a quick client story with you. So I had a married client, a different one, and she was a daddy's girl. And in her father's eyes, her father really could do no wrong. Now, throughout her adult life, she constantly attracted men who had her father's negative qualities, and the relationships would typically turn toxic and end. And also in those relationships, she would constantly try to be a chameleon or please them, try to become whatever it is that they wanted her to be. And of course, she would never be satisfied. And like I said, the relationships would turn toxic and they would end. But because she was a daddy's girl, she never thought, that could have possibly been an issue, because she had a very close, great relationship with her dad growing up. But finally, she ended up marrying a wonderful man. But because he was the complete opposite of her father, eventually she found herself actually feeling unfulfilled and dissatisfied in her marriage. Now, after going through some training with me, she actually recognized that her relationship attraction pattern, that is the type of relationships that she was attracted to. This is on a brain level. She recognized that and completely transformed her belief system around men, marriage, and relationships, because she recognized that she was going out and looking for her dad. But what she wasn't making the connection with is that these men all had all of her dad's negative traits, all the things her mom complained about and couldn't stand, right? Because it's different. Father-daughter is a totally different dynamic in relationship than now when you're like dating someone. Totally different, right? So when you're going out and you're seeking relationships with men and they have all your dad's bad qualities, well, that's not going to be any fun. Because remember, when you're a daddy's girl, you don't see your dad's bad qualities because he's probably not really projecting them towards you, not in a way that you're picking up on. But if you think about his relationship with your mother, or if your parents weren't together, if you think about his relationships with his girlfriends or whatever, there you may see, oh, there it is. Do you see what I'm saying? So that was the revelation that she had. And like I said, she made those shifts. And then she was able to see her husband for who he truly was. And she fell, madly in love with him again. And now they're enjoying an incredible marriage. And it's because she shattered that filter, that idealized image that she was looking through. She got rid of that and realized, oh my goodness, I have this great man right in front of me. And she said that she was so grateful because she almost threw it all away. And I'm going to tell you what she shared with me as well is the reason why she was so grateful when she came to me and did this training is because she had gone to a therapist and a counselor, and these individuals told her to just get a divorce. And she knew on some level that that's not what she wanted, because she knew her husband had done her no harm. He wasn't a bad person. She just wanted to be able to figure out what was going on. What was this? Why did she feel unfulfilled and dissatisfied? And I was able to help her, boom, find that this is what it is. You just have a pattern. You're just in a relationship with somebody that doesn't match what your brain says you're supposed to be with. So change your brain. And guess what? Oh, wow. Amazing. Exactly. So I share that with you because I want you to understand that it's absolutely commendable and wonderful that you had an awesome relationship with your dad growing up, but you cannot use him as the filter by which you compare the men that you're dating, because your image of him is not realistic, and he does have negative qualities. And those very negative qualities may be the things that you don't like, when you get into these relationships with men, besides the things that we talked about, which were primarily your behaviors. But the men you may be attracting may actually not be that great, because maybe your dad was a great dad, but maybe he wasn't that great as a husband or in relationships with women. So all of that are things to keep in mind. Okay. So the lesson: if you were daddy's girl growing up, you may have, unfortunately, some immaturity when it comes to how you relate to men in relationships. One big thing that I've seen with daddy girls too sometimes is you're also can be attracted to older men, and you may still be trying to mirror, in some way, that father-daughter relationship. And so here's the thing: if you don't do the work to change your beliefs and behaviors when it comes to men, then you're going to continue to have the same struggles on repeat, meaning you're going to continue to show up in the relationship in a way that's unhealthy, and you're going to continue to attract men who display these negative qualities of your father. And if you continue to show up in the relationship in an unhealthy way, and you happen to find a great guy, he's not going to stick around for that. He's not sticking around to be with a spoiled brat. He's not. And that's not fair to him, because if you really, really think about it, you don't want to be with a spoiled brat either. You don't want to be with someone who's selfish or self-centered or always wants to get their way or only thinks about how they, wants everything their way. Nobody wants to be around someone like that. And I want to tell you, you're not a bad person. This isn't like, whoa, let's beat up on you. No, this is about empowering you so that you understand what's holding you back from getting what you want, which is that happy, satisfying, fulfilling relationship with a man. That's what you want. And so if that's what you want, yes, sometimes we have to take a good hard look in the mirror, and honey, we ain't always going to like what we see. But if we are ready to step into what we want, then we're going to be willing to do what it takes to get it. Okay. So I hope I'm making sense. So in my Get Real and Heal Your Love program, the truth is, we actually work through, all of these daddy issues, because it's really a process of unraveling, the childhood trauma, the beliefs, the conditioning, all of these things that are left over, that from your childhood, that are actually ruining your opportunities to have a happy, healthy relationship with a good man. And this is always step one. This is always where we start. And in this process, I use written exercises, visualizations, and powerful conversations to help my clients create huge shifts when it comes to this area of shifting the things that came out of their relationship with their father that are no longer serving them or that were not positive. And most of my clients see results within a week, okay, of us focusing on this area. So, it could be a little longer for you, but nonetheless, it's still going to be faster than anything you've ever experienced before. I can say that for sure, because the fact is, my secret sauce is being able to quickly identify your relationship attraction pattern, and then literally helping you retrain your brain to now be focused and attracted on what's good for you, right? I can say a good man, but what's a good man for me might be different for you. So what's a good man for you, so that you're then prepared to succeed in a happy, healthy relationship with a good man. And if you already have a good man or you're already married, contributing in a healthy and positive way to that relationship so that it thrives and you guys can really go off into the sunset as that power couple, that you always wanted to be. So in the next part of this 5-part training, in part 4, I'm going to be talking about finding your courage, the courage to heal and transform your relationships with men. Because like you just learned in this training, wow, that's kind of a lot of hard hitting stuff on me that I got to do. And you might be feeling like, ooh, I don't know, it seems like a lot. It may feel like a lot, but let me assure you, as the person who is going to be guiding you through this process, it's not. I can see the light at the end of the tunnel, and I know how to help you navigate through it. And so you just have to trust the process and you'll get there. And that's what I help my clients do. They get into it and they're like, oh no, I don't know. And it's just, that's why I'm there. That's why I do coach the way that I do with my premium unlimited coaching model, so that I'm able to be there for my clients on an unlimited basis. They have access to me so that I'm able to help them work through these different exercises and these different pieces of the puzzle as we unravel things, so that they can become the woman who has happy, healthy relationships with good men. So now, absolutely, you're going to want to watch part 4 of this 5-part series. But if you're like, okay, this was, I know I need to take the next step, then absolutely feel free to go ahead and book a call with me. You can do so through my website at coachjamila.com. Okay. So I want to thank you so much for joining me in this training, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. All right.